United. This is your co-host Max Briggs, and I've got Eric Good with me, and Keith Patrick will be joining us later on. Today we're going to be talking about essentially the state of the union for the MLB at the All-Star break. We're going to do just a quick check-in and see kind of where the standings are at and what we see coming forward, and then we'll do a quick little segment on the U.S. women's national team for the World Cup. And wrapping up the show, we'll have NBA free agency and the Kawhi Leonard saga. Uh, with us right now is Eric Good, and let's get this thing started. So, Eric, uh, going into the MLB right now, we've got a pretty interesting breakdown on how the MLB standings look right now going into the All-Star break. Is there any surprise teams out there that you feel shouldn't have been in the lead for their division? And if so, who is it, and where did you expect to see them at?
No surprises currently. First and foremost, can I say that it's nice to actually be on this side of the gigs this time instead of being the guy that brings us into the show. But
I can imagine. I know what it's like to be on your side of it. It's kind of different being on this side of it. Uh, I feel kind of weird doing it, so it's nice.
but back to your question. Actually, yes, there is one team that shocks me so far, and basically that's the Minnesota Twins. I mean, at the start of the year, nobody expected them to even have a shot to compete for the division, and right now they're 6.5 up on Cleveland as we speak. Um,
Hold on, let me let you finish first, but I gotta say I did think the Twins were going to compete this year. I didn't think the Indians were going to be like the end all be all team in the AL Central. I thought the Twins had the ability to be at or near the top. It's just they're such a young team that I could see where you're coming from on that.
right, and it's just to me, and from most of what I read to begin the year, the Twins leading the ALs and basically for a majority of the year having the best record in the American League. That came out of nowhere. I mean, if you just sat there at the beginning of the year and you told me, hey, up until All Star break, the team that's going to basically have the best record in the American League a good portion of that time would be the Minnesota Twins. I'll tell you, hand me all your money now because you're going to lose it anyway. But the Twins to me are that team that just, if I look at the standings, just jumps out at me as how the hell did y'all get here?
Yeah,
Because I mean, the Yankees at the top of the AL East. That's no surprise. I'm a little surprised at how far ahead they are, but there's no surprise that they're on top. Um, the Astros. I mean, who didn't expect them to be on top of the AL West? As you heard earlier in the year, I predicted the Braves to be on top, not of just the National League East, but the entire National League. They're not there yet, but they've turned things around.
they're close.
The NL,
They're close. Yeah, I mean they're one of the better teams in the NL anyways. So yeah, they're pretty much there.
right, and the Brewers and Cubs are going back and forth for the NL Central. I mean, that's no surprise right there to me either. And the Dodgers are just going to be the Dodgers and hold down the NL West until Kershaw decides to retire. It seems.
Yeah, pretty much. I will say the biggest surprise for me is the Rays. Being only 7.5 games back from the Yankees and being above the Red Sox and Blue Jays surprises the ever living crap out of me. Like when I think of the Rays, I think of kind of like a downtrodden franchise. Sure, they had some success in the mid 2000s or mid to late 2000s,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I didn't see a team that would actually be in a spot so close to the Yankees and above the Red Sox. Like that's surprising to me. Like I really thought it was going to be a neck and neck race between the Red Sox and the Yankees, but the Rays have kind of proven otherwise, and they're sitting at 51-39 right now. That thing blows my mind. I would have expected them and the Blue Jays to be swapped. I thought the Blue Jays had a better team, and to see them at 33-57 at pretty much the halfway point of the season, it's surprising to me.
Yeah, because I mean, that I always felt like the Rays to me, just as a Yankee fan, the Rays are that little pesky team that just seems to never go away, even in their down years. And the fact that so far this year we've actually have done well against them. I mean, yeah, we've lost yesterday's, so Saturday's game, and as we're recording, we're currently losing Sunday's game. But I expected the Rays to at least be in the wild card hunt. I didn't expect Boston to be this far down, 10 games back as of right now. Like you said, I mean, like the majority of baseball fans probably predicted before the year that everybody would have thought the Yankees and Red Sox would be neck and neck, at least going into the All Star break and probably going down to the season. But I mean, Boston just seems like they can't get out of their own way right now, especially with that bullpen. I mean, the fact is they have to turn to Evoldi to basically be their closer when he gets back. That shows you how much trouble they're in the bullpen. And then, like you said, I would not have expected the Blue Jays to be closer to the Orioles than the Rays, let's put it like that. I wouldn't expect the Blue Jays to be bad to the point where they're closer to being at the record of the Orioles than they are with the Rays. I'd have thought, like, Toronto, they won't gonna make any noise this year, but at the beginning of the year, I at least thought they'd be, somewhere. Let's say right now at
Closer to 500.
about 5 games. Yeah, about 5 games, about 3 to 5 games under 500. 41-44. Let's just put it like that.
Yeah, not 33-57. I mean,
Right. I mean,
that's shocking to me.
Me too.
But so we've got our big surprises at the top. What are some of the biggest disappointments that you see right now, other than the Blue Jays?
The Seattle Mariners.
Yeah.
And I mean, but it's the fact that at the beginning of the year, before the season started, they wouldn't have been a disappointment. But the fact that they were actually on top of the division early in the year, I mean, how far they were above 500.
Well, heck,
And now
they were what 21-3 to start the year off, or something like that. Something
something
ridiculous.
like that. And now they're 39-54 as of this recording. I mean, it's like I've seen teams bottom out before, but I've never seen them bottom out that fast, especially before the All Star break.
Yeah, there's something weird going on with that team. I don't know what it is. Like they every time they come to Kansas, or every time that they played my Royals, they seem to have just like this dominant team. And like my Royals are not a good team by any stretch of the imagination, but they can be very competitive. But from what I remember seeing, every time that the Royals played the Mariners were just dominating us, and I was like, "Holy hell!" When I saw the standings, I was like, "What the heck happened to them?" Like, I see a great team when they're playing my team, but their record indicates something completely different, and it's kind of mind-boggling to see that disparity between what you see on the field and their actual record. Um, it, I think that one's a big shocker, and then honestly, another shocker that I see, I've got to say the Phillies. The Phillies are a shocker because they're not neck and neck with the Braves. I thought they were going to have a very competitive team this year, especially with the addition of Harper. Usually that helps with your WAR, your team WAR, and to see them sitting at just above 500 at 46-43 and 6 games behind the Braves is kind of shocking. And to see the Nationals better than them, or actually they're a half game better than them right now, but to see the Nationals ahead of them in the standings at the All Star break is shocking to me. Like I would have thought the Nationals, outside of Max Scherzer, would have kind of struggled, and you're seeing them be just as competitive as the Phillies and keeping it competitive with the Braves. That's pretty shocking to me.
Because you got to remember, at the middle of May, the Nationals, everybody thought they were done. You know, they were what was it, 10, 11 games under 500. I mean, they were still about what 7, 8 games back, but
Yeah,
I mean, as far as being able to do anything like win the division or win a wild card spot, they were done. But now, if I remember correctly, hearing they've had the best record in baseball since May 24th, and I mean, just the way that they turned it around is just remarkable. I mean, now the Nationals are right there for the wild card in the American League. They're currently the top team for the wild card right now. They're ahead of well, they're tied with the Brewers, but if the season were to end today, they'd get the home game, and that's just that's baseball's weird, man.
it really is. And I'm looking at their last 10. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games, which is just that's a phenomenal clip in baseball. I mean, only so the Yankees are the only other team that I see that are winning at that clip in their last 10. I mean, that's pretty impressive. They're doing awesome. I didn't expect that. I think when we did our little NL East preview a couple months ago, I didn't think that they were going to be much of a team in the first place.
All right.
I thought they were going to be more or less fighting it out with the Mets for second to last place in the division. And I thought it was going to be a fight between the Phillies and the Braves for the number one spot. So, honestly, that's definitely shocking to me. The NL Central is about as tight of a race as you can possibly imagine between all the teams. I mean, only 4.5 games separates the first place Cubs and the last place Reds. Um,
A
that
week of good baseball for the Reds could put them right on top.
exactly. I mean that's always a possibility in baseball because it's such a long season. I mean, anything can really happen. I know there's been a couple of years where teams have had a really solid June and leading them up to the All Star break. I mean, that puts them in contention for the final 2 months of the season, and then you see some absolute on fire baseball from a team that you didn't expect it, and they can sneak into the playoffs and do some stuff. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what materializes from that division because it's really anybody's division at this point. I mean,
And I have to say too that I've actually that there's a fan of the game is kind of rooting for the Reds because the Reds could have sat there and said this year, hey, let's tear all this down, just put a crappy team on the field and let's just try to rebuild. But the Reds actually went out and tried to get some quality free agents to, put actually a decent product on the field. And I'm glad to see them this close in the division race just because of that, because to me as a fan, personally, you have to appreciate that because look at the teams that actually have the capability of trying to get better through by adding pieces, but they wave at that and they be like, nah, nah. What you see is what you get from us this year. So, as a fan, I have to say, I'm kind of glad to see that the Reds are actually that close to being in contention for the NL Central, basically.
yeah, it's definitely good for baseball. Parity's always good. Competition's always good because you've got. I mean, look at the NL West where you've got the Dodgers that have what is it? They have a
14 and a
four,
half game lead.
yeah, over the second place team, and that's the Rockies, which are a pretty solid team. I mean, they're not the greatest team out there, but they're a solid team that should be able to compete. And when you see that, that's pretty, uh, in my opinion, that's bad for baseball. I mean, you need to
Mm-hmm.
see you need to see neck and neck races that lead you all the way up through the end of August. And if you don't see that, it makes the final month of baseball kind of boring because then you have no competition for the team that's in the lead. But if you look at the NL Central and how close it is, I mean, that's going to be fantastic for baseball because that's going to go down to the wire if it continues at this pace, and that's going to make the final couple months of the season that much more interesting to see who can really duke it out and come out victorious and win the division and possibly get a wild card spot. So you might see, heck, it's even possible to see maybe even two wild card teams come out of the Central. It's not beyond the realm of possibility because the lead. I mean, it's better than. I mean, the game's back for the last place team versus the first place team is better than any other first to second place team from what I can see in the NL Central or in the
Right.
NL. So, I mean, it's going to make it a pretty interesting race. So, if you're a fan of an NL Central team, hold on to your hats. It's going to be a wild ride.
Right, because like you said, the Pirates, Reds, Cardinals, Brewers, Cubs, either one of them could pull it off and win this division. You know, like I said, we still got a little under half a season left, and it's going to be like you say, hold on to your hat because it's going to be fun for sure.
Yeah, I'm thoroughly excited as a baseball fan to see something like that because I think the next closest division,
It's the AL Central.
yeah, is the AL Central.
Oh no, no, the NL East because the Braves have a 6 game lead over the Nats, and the Twins have a 6.5 game lead over the Indians right now. But
Yeah, because it's pretty much a three-way race between the Braves, Nationals, and Phillies, um, and they're all within 6.5 games of each other. But still, that gap is bigger than first and last in the NL Central, and then the Yankees and Rays are within 7 games of each other. But then if you
the
go to the AL Central, you've got a 6.5 game lead by the Twins over the Indians, and then the next closest team is the White Sox at 13.5 games back. The AL West could shape up to be a little bit more competitive than that. Outside of the Mariners, the Angels at 11.5 games back is um, disappointing, but they're going through some growing pains right now, and also with the tragic loss of Tyler Skaggs, that's it's going to probably be pretty tough to rebound from that tragedy right there. So,
right.
by the way, have you heard anything about what happened with Tyler Skaggs? I just know that
I,
he passed away in his sleep in his hotel room.
I've heard nothing new on it so far.
It's been such a horrible news story. I mean, the guy was only like 28 when he passed, 27,
Yeah, it
28 when he passed.
get ready. Yeah, he would have turned 28. Let me see the day. Sunday. I think it had been Wednesday, Thursday, somewhere in there.
That's so horrible. It's sad to see such a young and bright future get cut short like that. I mean, we've
It
seen our fair share of that in baseball with the likes of Jose Fernandez and Yordano Ventura, and now we've got Tyler Skaggs that has passed away. I mean, it's been a rough couple of years for baseball in general with the passing of such young people.
right, and definitely want to send condolences to his family, the Angels, and you know,
Yeah, I mean, all of baseball. I mean,
re-
it's a sad thing because it's definitely a brotherhood in baseball. No matter what team you root for, it hurts. It hurts everybody in baseball because you play so many games. You see these guys so many times a year. You get to know them, and to have someone's life cut short like that, it's definitely an impactful thing throughout baseball. But definitely condolences to his family and his teammates, and I know how tough that can be. So,
all right.
all right. Well, moving on. I mean, is there any other thoughts or input that you have as far as the state of baseball right now that you have?
I'll I'll tell you something else that has shocked me so far. Staying in the AL West, I'm surprised Texas is actually above 500.
Yeah, that's definitely surprising. I haven't really paid that much attention to the Rangers. I just I always thought they were just going to be like the bottom feeder of the West, and to see them at 47 and 42 right now, and only 9 games out of first, that's definitely shocking. Because I mean, you expect the Rangers to just be kind of duty every year.
Yeah, I mean, basically you expect them to be the butt of the jokes for Astros fans as of late, but they're not really jokes as of right now. At least like you said, there's still a lot of season left, and they could become a joke. But as of right now, they're no joke.
Well, good for them. I mean, I'll, I'll allow it. I mean, the other kind of surprising one is the Athletics. They're doing phenomenal as well, and they're only 7.5 games out of first, and they're doing pretty good. But you can't really compete with the Astros in that division.
No,
They're just
I
too
mean,
talented, and I think they've got another year or two left in them to really compete and just put that whole division in the rearview mirror. Uh, but soon enough, they'll fall apart like every other baseball team does and have some down years because that's just the way baseball goes. Um, Players move on,
I mean,
players get older, and you've got to retool. Uh, they're set up for that in the coming years. I wouldn't put it past 3 years for them. I'd say in 3 years they're going to be fighting it out for the bottom portion of the division, and they're looking at a rebuild.
but I mean to to look at it this season though, I mean the fact that they had that losing streak late last month, where I think what was it they lost like 10 of what was it 7 of 9 or 8 of 10 or something like that,
Yeah,
and for them to still have at this point a 7.5 game lead in the division is just that shows you how good they were early in the year and how good they are as a team, and you know and they're still getting healthier. I mean Springer recently got back. Altuve got back since the last time we recorded.
yeah.
It's just the AL West is going to be the Astros to lose basically, and barring another massive injury bug and a massive losing streak, they're not losing that division, not this year.
No, definitely not this year. And I don't see it happening next year, but at some point, these guys are going to start wearing down with all the success that they've had and all the extra postseason play that they've had. It
And
will take
guys are
a.
going to want money too.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, it's going to take a toll on them, and at some point in time, they're going to need to inject fresh life into that, and that's when they're going to have to blow it up. And they're going to have to make that determination at some point in time because the last thing that they want to do is be like the Royals and try to pull it out in 2016 and 2017 and get nothing in return for your star players that are leaving through free agency, and that's bound to happen with them as well, uh, unless they're smart about it and decide to blow it up before it really gets bad and get some return for their players.
I do want to add one more point for this segment is that our stats guy Derek, huge White Sox fan,
Hmm.
he's going to have to stop deceiving us this year about the White Sox being terrible
Yeah, that is very
because
true. They're what? They're just under
40,
500.
41 and 44 as of right now.
Yeah, I mean
I,
they're a solid team. I mean they've got a young core, and I'm not gonna lie, they're gonna be a force to be reckoned with. Not this year, but next year. I mean they're gonna be scrappy this year, but next year I could see them competing with the Twins for 1 and 2 in the division because the Indians are definitely falling off. Um, they're getting old and they're kind of falling apart. Sorry, Richard. They're not going to sustain themselves for much longer. I mean, the successful runs that they've had and the winning really does take a toll on a team. And since
mhm.
they haven't been able to pull off uh, the World Series victory a couple times, it's going to lead them to just kind of deteriorate and fall back down to earth and take over one of the bottom spots in the division and get cozy next to the Tigers and Royals. And then the White Sox are going to take their spot, and it's going to be a two-team race between the Twins and White Sox, which will be interesting for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I highly agree. Except to the point where being sorry to Richard, I'm not sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I say sorry to Richard, I really don't mean it. I mean, nobody's sorry to Richard.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be the second half of this year. It's going to be very interesting, especially in the NL Central, like you said. Um, I just in the wild card races to me also that they're going to be very interesting. I mean, right now in the National League, they're basically there's a tie at top of the wild card, and there are a good number of teams that are within 3-4 games of being a wild card team. So that race is going to be pretty good, and it's pretty decent in the AL as well.
Yeah, it'll definitely be a fun second half of the season for sure. Um, really quick before we jump off of baseball, um, who do you think is going to win the home run derby? Who would you put money on?
Vlad Jr.
Really, Vlad Jr.
Vlad Jr. I'm sorry. You're gonna have someone basically throwing him lollipops. Have you seen what he's done to pitching that's actually been trying to get him out? And now you got someone that's going to be throwing him lollipops. I'm sorry, my money is on Vlad Jr.
Yeah, I love Vlad Jr. I was a huge Vlad Guerrero fan, so I would definitely like to see Jr. win it. Um, I wouldn't be surprised though to see a guy like Josh Bell uh, give Vlad Jr. a run for his money,
Uh-huh.
and Jock Peterson. I mean, he's been there before. He's done it. I think he could definitely be another one that could really give us a good show. And then Yelich is another guy that could possibly walk away with the title as well. But other than that, I don't see competition for those four. I mean, Alonso's great and all, Santana's great and all, so is Acuna Jr. and Bergman. But I think it's going to be a four-man race in this, and it's going to be between Josh Bell, Jock Peterson, Vlad Guerrero, and Christian Yelich.
And you said you have who pulling it out again?
I think it's going to be between Junior and Bell. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I'm not. I would love to see Vlad Jr. win it, mainly because I'm a fan of his. But I could also see Josh Bell winning it. He's got some pop. I think he could walk away with it. It'd be
Oh yeah,
nice.
he's definitely no slouch.
Yeah, and I think the way that they've got it set up now is they've got the seating, so it's a bracket. You battle it out between the person in your bracket. So I think it could be a Guerrero slash Bell uh, face off in the finals.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, well it'll be exciting to see what happens between for that, and then on to our next topic, the U.S. women's national team for the World Cup. I believe they. Well, I know they're in the finals, and they won it today versus who is it? The Netherlands.
Mm-hmm. The Netherlands. They won it 2-0.
2-0. Well, I've got to say congratulations to them. Finally, a soccer team doing the U.S. proud in the World Cup. Um, it's nice to see them take home the top spot, and it's nice to see them make up for the disappointing men's soccer team that we have here. And it's also nice to see the celebrations that these women put on, and the flair that they have. It makes a sport that's very um, it's on the rise in popularity, but it's not regarded as one of the top sports in the United States. It makes it interesting. Um, what are your thoughts on their celebrations and the kind of vigor that they put in every single game?
To me, these people that are out here saying, act like you've been here before and whatnot, you got to realize these are people that have put in countless amounts of hours of their life, becoming one of the best at their craft at what they do. And for them to be at this stage and actually be very good at this stage, to me, they have every right to celebrate. I mean, it's like they're not being classless to the other team. Now, like I said, if they were getting in the other team's face directly and taunting in it, then I could see a problem. But I mean, they're just they're celebrating basically being good. And I mean, and when it has become a problem to be proud of being good, you know, it's like to me to certain people, it's like, oh, you can be good, but be quiet about being good. Don't rub it in everybody's face that you're good.
Which is ridiculous because, like, me personally, I'm a very competitive person. Like, I'll get excited, I'll rub it in somebody's face if I'm winning at a board game. Like, I literally want you to know that I'm better than you. So I'm completely fine with it. It kind of relates to the whole showmanship in baseball. How they say don't do it. It's not good for the game. Well, it is good because it shows that your players have character or a specific, or not like character as far as moral character. I'm saying that they are
They
uh,
have personality.
yeah, they're showing their personality, and that's something that we want to see in our athletes. I mean, that's part of the reason why we love the NBA. You see the flair from the players. You see the personality from the players. Same thing with the NFL. The touchdown dances, the sack dances, just the overall energy and enthusiasm that they bring to the game. That's what we love seeing. And to go to a soccer team where it may not be as popular as the NFL or the NBA or the MLB, to see them show that flair and show personality, it's really refreshing because it can make more people interested in it, and it can make a new fan base. I mean, it's captivated the nation in a way where we have to check in and see, oh, what celebration are they doing now? I've got to say that that Alex Morgan celebration where she sips the tea after scoring a goal
Mm-hmm.
on Great Britain. That's fantastic. I love her. She's amazing. But just the gangsterism of that single move, doing it especially that close to the 4th of July, was even more gangster. I mean, she's got you know big huevos for that. So I love it. I know you love it. All of America loves it, and it's nice to see. So all these old guys going get off my lawn with these celebrations need to just chill out and let these women do what they do best, and that's perform at a high level and celebrate their asses off.
Right. I mean, because like I said, if you sit there and you give that amount of time to something and you're that good at it, tell me you won't sit there and celebrate when you actually score a goal or and the, score a touchdown or hit a home run. It's like basically let these people have some fun. I mean, yes, I know we call it professional sports, but like I said, it's not like they went over to Great Britain's bench and start sipping tea in front of their bench. It's not like they sit there and grab another country's flag and disrespected their flag.
Yeah, I
They're
mean it's all sports. It's within the realm of sportsmanship, but it's also showing some flair. It's not like they're
right.
it's not like they're going up there and kicking a puppy and going, "Ha, take that! I'm gonna kick this puppy every time I score on you." No, it's I scored. I'm happy for myself. I'm happy for my teammates. I'm happy for my team. Let's celebrate, and that's cool to me. I'm completely fine with it. People that aren't are just not with the times apparently, or the old man get off my lawn type person, which doesn't make sense. Everybody enjoys seeing the flair from these people, whether it be women's soccer or MLB, NBA, NFL. The whole get off my lawn thing just doesn't apply anymore. We like seeing it. It makes for good viewership, in my opinion.
Right. The only other thing I'd say is that if you're one of those types that don't enjoy it, stop being salty that you're not good enough to do it. That's basically why you're mad.
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't make sense, and uh, I I don't like hearing that argument anymore.
I don't either.
Okay, and now we've got Keith Patrick joining us. He's going to interject some thoughts really quick on the U.S. women's national team, and then we're going to jump into NBA free agency and more specifically about Kawhi Leonard. Uh, Welcome to the show, Keith, and let's hear what you got.
Appreciate it. It's a pleasure being here as always. Just a couple quick thoughts on the women's national team. I didn't get to watch majority of the games, but some of the drama that people have brought up about them, scoring a bunch and not being professional and this and that and the other. And I've always been the if you don't want it to happen, then you should stop it. Like they shouldn't. Like this is every 4 years. So like this is their moment. Like they deserve to go out and have fun and enjoy their time there. Like that's what they play for. At especially being at the top of the top and winning the title again. And just a couple quick points on my wife. Alex Morgan. She's been amazing. She played well throughout. Uh, but also the new Viper, Megan Rapinoe. She's just been crazy good throughout the entire tournament. It's just amazing to see them come together as a team and just basically take the title from Europe since everybody else, for the most part, that were in contention were
Well,
from there.
yeah,
So
those are
it's just
some
been
very valid
amazing.
points. And one of the things that just popped into my head is um, these women have continued a tradition of excellent play from the U.S. women's national team. Uh, Megan Rapinoe, Alex Morgan are kind of like our new Mia Hamm and Brandy Chastain. And going back to the celebration portion, didn't Brandy Chastain have like one of the most iconic celebrations ever where she ran, started running, went into a slide and ripped her shirt off after scoring the
Mm-hmm.
goal? I mean,
Yep.
and we revere that as
The
one of the most iconic celebrations in history of sports in general. I mean, it's one of the most like when you think of a celebration in sports, that's probably one of the things that pops into your mind. So these women continuing that tradition of awesome celebrations after big moments. It's just natural for them to do it. And you're right, every 4 years this happens, so they have a lot of build up to this. It's not like they play a season or play every year a new season, and then they have a chance to win the World Cup every year. No, it's every 4 years. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and it's really something special that they do. So honestly, it's nice to see. It's refreshing to see. So let these women do what they do best, and that's kick ass and celebrate and win World Cups.
I agree.
All right. Well, now that Keith has interjected some of his points on the women's U.S. national team and their victory over the Netherlands, now let's move on to NBA free agency and Kawhi Leonard saga. Hey, Keith, tell me your thoughts specifically on this Kawhi Leonard saga and how you feel it impacts the West.
Kawhi just he's a different cat, man. Like just completely different. Nobody knew at all what he was gonna do. There were reports going from oh he's for sure a Laker to oh he's gonna do a 1-1 with the Raptors to the Clippers are officially out and he's only between the two to oh well he only wants to sign long term so this and that. And it's it's literally just been the craziest saga with him for him to have been that good and keep everything so quiet while potentially going to the Lakers or this or that and finding a way to basically get Paul George as his running mate because that's going to be an amazing tandem for the Clippers out of all the teams in the world to play for. The
That's
Los
shocking in
Angeles
and of itself that he
Clippers.
went to the Clippers. But you know, you're right. And honestly, as not like a hardcore, like I'm not a hardcore NBA fan. I'm more of just a casual NBA fan, and I follow the Jayhawks, the former Jayhawk players around the league, and I'm also a fan of Kawhi Leonard. I've always liked him, just because of the type of person that he is. Uh, he's very intriguing to me. He's not like your standard superstar player, and to see them keep it so close to the vest and not let that news leak out. Like we didn't even hear about Paul George going to the Clippers until it had already happened, and that's like unheard of in today's age of sports. Like we usually know before any releases come out or anything like that, and to have such a big time player get traded away from Oklahoma City and to go to the Los Angeles Clippers and us not hearing about it and them signing Kawhi Leonard, that's just mind boggling to think that nobody even considered that or heard that before it actually happened. And we all woke up to the, the wild news that was.
And let me add something in on all that trade as well. Oklahoma City, to me, they really cleaned up in that trade. I mean, look how many firsts they got, and look how many it was: four unprotected, one protected. You got pick swaps, and then all of a sudden you get two guys as well in that deal. And to me, if there's ever a time for Oklahoma City to finally just say, you know what, let's blow this up and start over again, you got your time now because four or five first round picks, two swaps. I mean,
Yeah.
that's what that's a starting lineup basically.
And they already got their point guard of the future in SGA, who they
Yeah, I mean,
obviously
and then
acquired
they
in that
got
trade
Danilo
too.
Gallinari. Uh, I think they definitely cleaned up in that trade, and now we're hearing rumors that Westbrook's on the trade block, which isn't surprising considering he's the last man standing from essentially the original Sonics team that moved.
It, he needs to go. And I mean, and we all know this is not going to happen. And if you follow our friends over at Tailgate Party Talk, basically you know how they feel about the Knicks. But to me, if you're the Knicks, I would see if I could work something out to where I could acquire a Westbrook because as of right now, the Knicks. I mean, don't get me wrong; they're not as big of losers as social media would have you think that they are. But basically, the owner James Dolan put such high expectations into everyone's minds that the Knicks were going to really go out there and land a big fish this past off season. And Julius Randle is no slouch. He's a great pickup for the Knicks.
Well,
But if
they
he's
needed Randall because they didn't get Zion.
exactly, but if he's the basically the biggest haul that you got in this off season, then you massively failed at what your plan was. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the Knicks bombed out this off season. To me, they didn't. But the expectations that Dolan had presented for the Knicks, they failed.
Oh yeah.
They bombed out.
Elaborate, Keith.
I was waiting. I was waiting for that.
All right, I'm gonna need a smoke after this take. All right,
Yeah,
come on.
they bombed out. They just, I don't know, like to be, the mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden per se. Not obviously not the Knicks, but like you play in one of the most renowned arenas in the world,
Hmm.
like not in the U.S., in the world, and honestly, the best person that, like the player that people are gonna have to start like going for when they go to Knicks games, as bad as this sounds, and weird as it sounds coming from a Duke fan, is R.J. Barrett, and like he is, I think he's gonna be amazing and such, but there's so much put on him in his first year because he doesn't really have a running mate that's like a star or a superstar. I mean, Randall's nice. No diss to him at all. Like he is gonna be he's a really good player, but like you need to do more if you want to even remotely contend again. Not even like
Oh
soon,
yeah.
just contend again.
Well, we're talking about the Knicks here. Let's talk about getting back to the playoffs first.
No man, that's fair. Let's talk
Yeah, I
about
was about to
just a
say,
winning
they
record.
had that one year when they made the playoffs with Melo, but I mean, for since Ewing since
I
Ewing's
bet they miss
retired,
Amari Stoudemire.
I mean, what the hell have the Knicks really done? You know,
Got rid of Porzingis, which was idiotic in my opinion. All right. Well, you know, the Knicks are just being the Knicks. I mean, they lost out on Zion with not getting the number one pick in the lottery, so they had to go out and get Randall, which is what everybody equates Zion to, anyways, which is kind of idiotic in my opinion. But sure, compare him until he actually goes out there and plays and just kind of blows you away with his play. I have some high expectations for Zion with the Pelicans, but I mean, I'm looking at their roster right now. They've got R.J. Barrett, Kevin Knox, Nicotina, Dennis Smith. I mean, they're gonna do all right. I mean, they're not gonna be. I mean, they could possibly compete for that ace spot in the playoffs in the East. They could. They could if they pull it together. I
No,
mean, they do have some young pieces, and I do like Barrett there, but they really need to do better. I know they wanted Kyrie. I know they wanted Durant, and they didn't get either one of them, and they went across town to go play for the Nets, which is really just a stab in the back to them because I think everybody was thinking that they were going to go to the Knicks, and then getting rid of Porzingis. I mean, they're really just kind of shooting themselves in the foot, thinking. I think they tried to plan for something, for a possibility, and screwed it up and didn't have any backup plans. They've got some young guys that can possibly play for them for quite some time and be decent players in the NBA, but they need to make some moves. And I think you're right, Eric. It wouldn't surprise me if they did try to go after Westbrook. It'd be interesting to see them do it, but I think who is it right now that's in the running for Westbrook? It's the Rockets, the Pistons, and the Heat. I think it'll be hard to get them away from those three teams unless they really package something together and just blow OKC away, well, with a decent package to get Westbrook.
I mean, to me, you got to do it if you're the Knicks because as you see, nobody's coming there of their own free volition. So you got to go through the next best avenue to get someone there, which is the trade market, which means the Knicks are going to have to overpay some team to pull in a star just because. I mean, with the owner Dolan, who's going to want to go there? I mean, and I don't. I've said this before, but the Charles Oakley incident, when that happened, to me that's what really set up what happened this off season with free agents spurning the Knicks. Because to me, it's like Charles Oakley, is basically when you think of the Knicks after Ewing, Oakley is one of the first people you think of, and for that team to treat him the way that they did just because he disagrees with the owner. I mean, that to me showed a lot of current NBA players that if he feels like that about a great like that, how will he treat me when I get there and he has me under contract? So I feel like that was the moment that brought us to where we currently are with the Knicks of nobody wants to play there. Not of their own free will anyway.
Yeah, no, you're definitely right about that. Um, and also, one of the other funny things I think that came out during this whole Kevin Durant saga was what they offered him. and they didn't want to give him a max contract because of his injury or something like that.
That's a joke.
which is
Yeah,
still
That
laughable.
that when I heard
Still
that, that was a
laughable.
joke. I mean, that just shows you how inept the Knicks front office is. I mean, don't get me wrong. Yeah, Durant, it's gonna take him some time to basically even get anywhere close to what he was. But I mean, you're the Knicks. You're in no position really to. Yeah, exactly.
yeah. You
Pick and
should have
choose.
you should have paid the guy his money and said, yeah, we'll give you whatever you want to come here and play. And I think that could have solidified like a Kyrie Irving to the Knicks as well. But they
And
completely screwed themselves because they got it in their own way. I mean, you don't offer a player like Kevin Durant non-max money because he gave the Warriors everything even when he was hurt and tried to actually come back and help them win another championship even though he was hurt. He put himself aside and went for the team mentality and he hurt himself. You want that on your team. No matter what your thoughts and
yeah,
opinions on Kevin Durant are, the guy is there to play basketball and try to help you win a championship team or win a championship. So you want him on your team. And I personally, if I was the owner of the Knicks, I'd pay that guy all the money in the world to have him come play for me. I mean, and now that's any sane person's
Yep.
viewpoint on that. And to not offer him the max contract because of his injury and him being out for a year is idiotic. I mean, and that just plays more into the narrative that the Knicks are just inept at playing basketball and and being a basketball franchise in the NBA.
I, I mean because now let's say he says he wants to go back to Golden State, and Golden State decides they're not going to offer him a max contract. While I would there still be a head scratching move to me. I'd be more understanding of it. But like you're the Knicks. I mean, I mean, nobody wants to come here. Nobody wants. I mean, and to me,
Nobody.
Durant and Irving signing with the Nets was basically sticking a middle finger at the Knicks. Like, all right, we're in New York. We're going to be in New York, but we're not going to be in Madison Square Garden.
Oh yeah,
We're going we're going to be at the Barclays Center, and we're going to draw more people to Barclays than you're going to draw to Madison Square Garden. And and they
It's the
took less,
sum
and
of the
They took
brother.
less money so that DeAndre Jordan could come join them. You know,
well,
it exactly.
Who
You
was on
could
the
have had
Knicks
all
last
three
year?
of them together in the Garden, but you just because you don't want to offer Durant money, so Durant and Kyrie had to talk and say, okay, well, you know what? All right, Kyrie, we'll go with your top choice now of the Nets, and look where they are.
yeah, screwed. And the Knicks are screwed, and the Nets are poised to be one of the more dominant teams in the East. I mean, what they did was they made themselves instant contenders, um, along with the 76ers. I mean, it's going to be them, the 76ers. The Celtics are always going to be competitive, uh, even though Kyrie left and Horford left and stuff like that. And then, what would you say another team in the East would be at or near the top?
Can't forget Milwaukee.
Yeah, oh yeah. I always forget about them because Milwaukee's such a forgettable town. Yeah, yeah, forgettable
Quiet
city.
City. There it
I'm
is.
sorry, I've got family that lives there. It's just you don't think about the Bucks unless you're thinking of the old days where they had Kareem and Giannis is there, which that dude's just a freak of nature. The guy is just a phenomenal player. And I mean, they're always going to be competitive with the team that they've got there right now. I could see the Bulls making a push to kind of come back up towards the top. Uh, I really like Markkinen. He's a solid player. Uh, Yeah,
I can't wait
he'll
for
like
Brody
that
to hear
one.
that.
I I can't wait for David to hear that.
I like
Oh
it.
man.
I like it. The man with the woman's name, Lori.
uh, but I mean, back to your point about the Knicks possibly grabbing the 8 seed. Now, if this was the super team era still, I would say that they have a shot because in the East, in the super team era, the East basically at the bottom was a toss up to who could just put a better, who could sit there and put a few games together and capture the 8 seed. But now that the league is going back to having more parity, as it appears, can't see it for the next.
Yeah. Well, any other surprising free agency departures or acquisitions throughout the NBA that you guys see that are pretty noteworthy?
Well, we got to look at the Western Conference side of things as well because I mean, the Jazz they had a couple of nice pickups. I mean, you got to look. Of course, we've just talked about the Clippers. Uh, you got the Warriors picking up Russell through trade, who they're probably going to end up trading him somewhere in mid-season, most likely, because when Clay gets back. But Keith, tell me what you think about the West.
Yep. The West is absolutely loaded. Um, Going through the teams, the Clippers obviously got their big two and have a solid supporting cast for that team. The Lakers are rounding out behind Braun and AD. Interesting pickups, but I mean they sort of still have a team worth it. Kuzma probably will have a bigger year next year, learning from them. The Jazz went and got Conley, and that's a huge upgrade over Rubio. And Bogdanovich is a low key smart signing, even though they overpaid a touch, but not bad. There's a few others. Let's see. Denver's always young, and they're about to get Michael Porter Jr. and Bobo, and see how that works out for them. The Warriors are the Warriors. It's going to be interesting to see how that new small backcourt plays the first half of the season or so. And it's interesting to see how the West goes. The Rockets are for some reason going after Westbrook, even though they already have a point guard that doesn't fit with James Harden. Uh, and I just don't think they have the pieces that can really get him without fully finding somebody to be a third or maybe even a fourth team to take Chris Paul. They're gonna have to give up a
Right.
ton just to get rid of him. Just a ton. It's interesting that from top to pretty much bottom, each team has something to be like happy about. Like teams like the Kings, I think, are on the rise and could fight for a low seed this year. Dallas has Unicorn and Luca. It's just mind-boggling to think
Dallas to
how
me is going to
deep
be
the
one of those
West
teams
is.
that greatly jumps next year, just because they're rounding out pretty nicely. They got their two guys, and you know what I mean.
Yep. Yeah, it's back to the dynamic
I mean,
duos for the league. And it's just interesting to see which duo can take their
I mean,
team the farthest.
and I actually, I'm more excited for this upcoming NBA season than I have been for a while, just because the league. It seems like it's corrected itself from the super team era of the past decade, and that's always fun basketball to me when you have teams that are when you get past All Star break and going into March and into the spring, where you have teams that are actually battling for playoff spots instead of being able to sit guys tonight because hey, we got our spot wrapped up that we want. So it's going to be fun for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how they continue or like how close the 1 through 8 and then obviously like 9, 10, and 11 race is leading up to March and April, because I think that this year it actually could be really close throughout, to where 1 through 8 could have a difference of, let's say, 5 games instead of 15, 20, 30 that
Right.
the East may have.
And that in the first round of the playoffs this year could actually mean something as well, because in the past decade, the first round has
Yes.
almost been basically a formality that's meant nothing. So let, let's just hope that everything that we hoping for comes true this year, with the NBA correcting itself back towards parity.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how it all plays out, and the East is still behind, and now they're even farther behind because they don't they don't really have the star power on all their
Mm.
teams like the West does.
Well, any last points about the NBA that you want to bring up?
Um, Not really. I'd say, just like I said, look out for teams like the Kings. I mean, if the Magic could ever find a point guard and get rid of all the bigs they have, that's another team that could be on the rise. The Knicks would be terrible. I'm just gonna throw it out there so that nobody thinks that they're just gonna like make the playoffs or anything. They're not. They're not. Brooklyn also will probably struggle for a little bit, just because without KD this year, it'll be interesting to see how that team gels, and it'll probably take them a little while to get up to speed and all that.
Well, Keith, since this is since this is the first show that you can now sign off on, I'm gonna let you take it.
Oh, this is interesting. Alrighty then. Let's see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to us for another episode. It's been amazing. Obviously, this episode was a little bit weird, seeing as Max started it and I'm ending it. But we will sign off now, and hopefully hear y'all next time, or y'all hear us next time. Thank you.